We already touched it, and we want to emphasize it again, how important it is to set up the right priorities. Again, my first priority is my relationship with the Lord. That's the basic, and I have to invest in this, of course. My second priority is husband-wife relationship. That's number 2. Nothing comes before this. No service in any shape or form, my duty to congregation, my worship service, I'm a pastor, I'm a leader, I'm doing a million different things for the kingdom of God, and all of that doesn't come here. And of course, my third priority is my children, investment, planning, as we said, and deliberate, diligent investment in it. Also, not any kind of service doesn't go here before. And we have a strong biblical support for this. 1 Timothy, the book, Paul specifically writes to the new leader. He left Timothy to establish the congregation, and he explains the qualities of elders and deacons and all, and so many nuts and bolts details he goes in. He explains attitude towards the widows, and he said no way that the living children cannot take care of widow. He says that's the priority. Kama v'kama, as we say in Hebrew, like how much more important to invest in our children, knowing that that's our first responsibility. That's what he says concerning the household and widows that living children have to take care of. Let a widow be put, on a list, but if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than unbeliever. So it's very harsh words. And so if we don't care for our children, we denied our faith. It doesn't matter how well we perform on other areas of our service. That's very crucial.
Yes, God of order. Order is something that He not just jealously keeps and asks us to keep it just because it works that way. It's not. It's logical for Him. So the order of the things is very important. Marriage first. That relationship is first. Children next. When you have one child second, third, it's kind of natural that you put all your efforts, focus, time into that relationship, and you can really give up on or leave it as it is on that level, and it won't work, because in God's wisdom, economy, only that how it shall work. So sometimes, because naturally mothers are with children, spending more time with them, sometimes they idolize the children. They put them before their husbands for all kinds of reasons. First of all, she might be the one who dreamt to be a mother since she remembers herself. So very often in counseling, when we prepare the couples for the marriage and we ask them why to marry, very often, especially women after age 30, says, because I really want to have children. Okay, so that's why you marry? No, but yes. I do want to have children, and I don't want to call my husband a mean for having them. I do love him, I fall in love with him, I want to build a family. But actually, yes, the children and being a mother been always my dream, and that's what I want. Beautiful dream. It's a beautiful fulfillment of who you are as a woman, as mother, to be a good mother for your children. But it's dangerous if, because of the natural flow, or how things go, or what it takes, we put them before that relationship. Because what happens? That relationship challenging enough, and I not always succeeding to get what I'm longing for: acceptance, love, time, attention, some signs of pure love. And sometimes, as much as I explain to the spouse, he doesn't respond to it. He doesn't give the amount that I really need. So naturally, my attention and my all being in the children, because for some certain stage of their life, they can give it to me. It won't be easy walk, but I will be fulfilled, because they will come and say, "Mommy, I love you." They will kiss me. I will kiss them before bed night. It changes the whole perspective, and that's what I'm looking for. Very often I even put aside the husband from his parenting role, because he's not as sensitive as I am. The things he says around the table to my child are harsh. He just breaks my child's heart. You can't talk to him. You don't know him. You didn't spend with him as much time as I would. It's like you just sit and watch me do the art of parenting. Definitely, it's not the words that we might use, but that's a message. Because you're not home, because you're involved somewhere else, I'm the one to parent. And right, for women, God gave a lot of skills and a lot of sensitivity, maybe to be a wonderful relator, wonderful mother. But you really rob your children's life if you don't let father to be the father. His way to approach your children will be different from yours. He could be a little bit harsher than you. He probably will use words which you would never use. And again, without specific example, we can't really give you. Some fathers are abusable. I mean, they're abusers. But I'm talking about normal fathers who are not abusive and who dealing with the children the way men deal with them. And if you just put them aside and you say, you can't, you're not capable, you are not sensitive, you do what you do, you bring money, you earn money for us to live, and I'll do my art. And you do progress in that art, no doubt, because if you're a good mother, you probably and mostly sure progressing in that art. But putting him aside and not finding your love and longing from here, but taking it from there, you rob children from all kinds of perspectives, because they need to deal with men in their lives. And men in the army, at the workplace, at the service, will be men. They will deal with them as the men will deal with them. So if they were always around the mother who will so tender and so sensitive that he knows to find the way for child before he even feels that he's getting upset, you're not doing good for them. You're just really not giving them the skill to be fathered. And for you as a father, if that's what's happening in your household, you need to think, where am I? Because sometimes it's a very comfortable position. I'm out, I'm making the money, you deal, and if I don't know how, maybe I'm crushing their spirit, maybe I'm doing something wrong, so you do it. What we see what happens when the children get to the age of school, 7, 8, 9, 10, they become early teenagers, you as a mother cannot get out of them what they used to give you, because they were innocent and flexible and developmentally warm and loving. You don't get it from them because they become to be teenagers who not easily giving you what they used to give as a children. So to whom do you turn? Being absolutely desperate. Now you don't have it here, now you don't have it with them, they're rebellious, they raise up their voice on you, they fight with you, they don't do. Definitely you turn to him, and usually you blame him for not being there, not being a real father who can demand, be for her. And the father really don't have those capabilities anymore. Because all these years he was afraid he wouldn't be able to be sensitive with his children. So he either don't step in further, or he does step in, but he's harsh, and he might even be spanking the children at that teenager's age, because he didn't do it when it was right to do. When the baby was yet that small, that little small spanking will not damage anything for that child, because it will be measured well, it will be done well. But suddenly he deals with teenagers as with the babies, and all this furiousness, all this intimidating tones come in, and teenagers don't consider their father as well. So you're absolutely helpless. So to put children before that relationship, even if it brings you all joy from that world, is not wise, because if God says that's a priority, he knew what he meant.
So, I mean, of course, God is against idolatry, against idols, right? But the idea of understanding of idols goes much further than just wooden or carved images, right? So sometimes it's even our children can be idols, as you're describing right now. Like for a certain mother, the child can become idol. What it is, he's drawing her longings from this particular child instead of relying on God, who will definitely fulfill and capable to fulfill these longings. So it is idolatry.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing you touched.
Plus, if you put everything, all you want and expect from that life on your children, all kind of things might happen to your children, because nobody guarantees
and then you winding up in a lose-lose situation. You didn't build a relationship with your husband, right? You lost.
Yeah.
And you lost on a level of parent-to-child relationship, and it's all rounded up in kind of blame and regret and misery and
because maybe you were excellent mother, and you are, but when they leave your nest and you stay all alone without 1, 2, 3, 4, and here it's a gap that can be reached, then even if you have wonderful relationship with your children, you will be miserable, because there is nothing to fill that void with. Otherwise, other direction is to be involved in your sons or daughters' families too much, because I still have a role that I want to fulfill. I have wonderful relationship with my children. Why don't I still keep doing what I used to do, even if they are married? So that also lose situation, because it's only for you to fulfill it. It's not for them to build it all by themselves, dealing and being helped by you from time to time, but not as your task.
Okay. Let's go back to the theme we started already, which is investment in training, in rearing children in due time, right? So if you remember, we have in Russian, we have a certain proverb, we have to give an explanation. Back many centuries ago, before the fancy chairs or armchairs, we had benches in Russian. In villages, people were sitting something like this on the benches, right?
Around the table.
Around the table, even like bench. And the proverb goes like, you have to train your child while you put him across the bench, not when you put him along side of the bench, right?
Yeah, that's kind of too late, but again, we want to encourage you that it's never too late. It's better to start when he's that small, means he's newborn baby. But so take some moral from that, but don't be discouraged that if you didn't do it, God will redeem it. And if He convince you, and if you turn back to Him, He will give you everything you need, so the change will happen at your child at any age.
It's never too late, as we already said previously, and we're saying it again. It's never too late. And for this support, we have a beautiful verse in Romans 8:28, also known verse, that everything, like all of it, even this, works together for good for those who believe, right? But again, we have to determine what is good. And good is to be confirmed to the image of Messiah, of our Lord Yeshua Jesus, right? So, meaning that even these failures which happened, let's say I lived all my life as a non-believer, I raised up children in a worldly fashion, I lost it all, and suddenly I become a believer and like, wow, that's it, what shall I do? No, everything, including this situation, works together for good.
Absolutely.
Just stand and believe this promise.
Absolutely.
And start doing right from the point you know.
Even in our case, we came to know the Lord when we were 22, 23, 24, sometime around that age. So we were absolutely affirmed by the parents who didn't believe in God at all. They were good enough parents, which we dearly love till today. They did a good job, but definitely without God being involved. And when He saved us, the journey of conforming to the image of Jesus had started. So there is always hope. If we had changed, with all our child up growing up in communist country as China is, also Russia was there, and God saved us and He made changes in us.
Leave us alone, we are not the best case. Apostle Paul says the same. Like all his life, he lived as a Pharisee, as a persecuting the church up to the point of killing, like Stephen, and then he says, I'm like, I'm an example of the grace of God. He saved him and He made him one of the greatest follower, like apostle, right?
That's right.
So there is a hope.
Given that hope, we still want to challenge you that it's better to start at early age. So let's go to the early age, to the spring of your children's lives. So we don't have to spend the winter dancing around teenagers who are out of control. And good to have you here just even before you have children, or when your children are very small. It's a very good time to keep doing what you started, or to plan it ahead of time before they were conceived. So wise people like you start early in their children's life. Clearly, first 3 months, take it just to rest, just to adapt and to adjust to new reality. Because your hormones will be jumping up and down. You need to get used to that baby. The baby needs to get used to new smells and lights and food and stomach aches. 3 months, a period of grace. But even in that 3 months, take notes of how your child likes to be held, how he likes to eat, when he smiles. Not that it won't change, it will change almost every day, but you will be equipped to take notes and to learn who your child is. Later on, what are the myths that parents have in mind when they're thinking about training up the child, and when they think about 3 months old or 6 months old as too young child to train him up?
Yeah, there are several those, right? And we have to detect them and to replace them with the truth. One of the myths is that discipline and learning requires language. Like, since he's, young, he doesn't talk, how can I, communicate to him, right?
Well, the family dog knows to sit, lie, and go somewhere even without even ever being able to speak. So you can train, and anyhow, how can you approach to your child less capable of understanding the cause and the effect? He's as smart as a university student that knows if I cry, mommy comes. So reason, effect. If I move the feet, it moves. If I smile, mommy smiles back to me. So he's all the time learning the reason and the effect. So being that small, you can definitely start training him and training and disciplining him.
There is a second myth, which is a little child cannot remember and learn. His memory capacities are too little.
Yeah, try to promise him an ice cream or walk to the garden and see if he forgets at age 1.5. He will never forget. He does have enough memory to remember what you say.
Okay. Let's take a third myth, which probably will go into depth a bit more. The third myth is setting limits will break my child's spirit.
Right.
I have to develop his good self-esteem in a sense.
Yeah, parents worry about making their toddlers angry, because if I make sure that she's happy all the time, then she will grow up to be a happy, nice person. And that's not right, because the person will never know how to deal with myself being unhappy. Parents that set limits early are wise, and their children will not be shocked when they face the real world. They will also know how to handle themselves when they are unhappy, angry, frustrated. The infant, the little baby, figures out whether his parents are going to set limits or they can be controlled. They're kind of in laboratory all the time. They do some actions and they look for your reaction. You can see it in any situation. Let's see that you fly with your child. You sit in the aircraft, and in front of you that old gentleman, and your child kicks the chair of that old gentleman, and you say him, stop it, or you say, nice children don't do it, or you intimidate him somehow that he will just stop it, and he's small, he's 1.5, then the gentleman looks back to you and says, do something with your child, he kicks my seat. And you just say, what can I do? You know, I did all my best. He still keeps kicking that seat. He's learning. He's trying and see what reaction of that old person, how he will react. He's checking how you will react and what the cause will be. And if you give him a power and control to control the situation, and you're powerless, or you're intimidating him, or you're threatening him, or you're lecturing to him, it's very unpleasant, because he will check further, if not that boundary, what other next thing can I do so the world around me will be changing as that old, it's interesting to see that expression of that old daddy or granddad who looks, but just imagine that old granddad will go at the row behind you and he will start to kick the seat of your child. You will definitely say, what are you doing? And he will say, what can I do with myself? I just want to kick the chair. So what and how do you train so it won't be just threatening and just using the hammer of intimidating? Sometimes I see the parents, the only tool in their toolbox they have, it's a hammers of different sizes. That's how it seems to me. It's a big hammer, it's a small hammer, but it's only hammer. Do I say it right? So if you want to build a house and you invite the builder and he comes with all those hammers, you're just looking at him and say, would you be able to build a house with hammer only? And he will say, yeah, actually I have few sizes. I have this, and he might build something, but it will be very strange building. So why do we always use that intimidation, that control of our children? Can we do something different in the situation that she doesn't behave? Okay, let's take a small child again. What can be done? Some simple actions, simple loving actions instead of anger, lectures, or threat. For example, 10-month-old child begins to resist the mashed potato his mom is offering. At first he seems to enjoy it, the food, and then little by little he becomes crankier and crankier. He spits them out all over. What mom usually does? She really says, no, 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 we don't do this. That's interesting tone of voice for the child. So he will do it again to see how your voice is changing. What would you do next? Because he's an experimenter. He will do every step just to see what reaction will be. And then mom say, well, no, and she will try, but child gets crankier and crankier. It doesn't help. Mom can do something different. As soon as the child resents the food, she can, without words or with a little bit short sentence, say, how's it? Lunch is over. And just take and quickly, gently raise the tray of her son's high chair, leads him out of the seat, and takes him to his crib. There is no threatening, there is no intimidation, there is no voice playing, we don't do this. This is simple, loving, gentle action to say that you eat until you want to eat. You become cranky. I, as a mother, decide that you probably are not interested in the food anymore, and I'm just taking you out of the high chair. Your toddler doesn't want to be buckled with the seat. He needs to know that he have to. He cannot control and tell you that he doesn't really want. It just, the boundaries are for his safety, and there is no much words about that. He needs to deal with his unhappiness of trying to break that boundary, because you as a parent absolutely know that it's for his safety and have no problem with that. Another example, we go a little bit further. Terrible twos, right? The child, all he says is no. He just likes how this word sounds like. It just no. It's no for everything, and that's normal for that stage. But you as a mother want to do your shopping at the grocery shop, not being interrupted all the time when the toddler, because he's already 1.5 or 2 and he's not in his stroller, he walks with you, he runs away from you all the time. So what usually we do, hurrying up in this world, because we need to do shopping. I know he's not behaving. I know he doesn't do what I know. Either I would leave him at home with somebody else because he disturbs and I just need some peace to make groceries. Or I will take him and I will just either run after him, or I will let him play with all the things he picks up from the shelf. I will give in because I'm so tired, I just need to finish that task. The same with cleaning, the same with cooking. They're all the time interrupt and bring some breaks into our daily routine, which is hard by itself. I'm hardly making it anyway, and now you have 1, 2, 3 who makes it harder, slower, and unbearable. And I also use my strengths to intimidate them, because I need either to show that I'm that angry, to scare him that much that he will stop doing that. So that takes also time. What do we offer as a loving, kind actions that we can do? Plan ahead. We will not be tired to say that if you don't plan your parenting, if you don't know what you want to train up your child, if you don't know what the challenge at this week I'm dealing with, you will be doing spontaneous, along the way parenting, being so desperate, being so tired. So if that's what happens to him 2 times in a row, you take him to the shop and he's grown up enough to interrupt and to show you that he's independent. Independence is a wonderful thing. But if he runs away and escapes from you and you're not in the eye contact, that's not safe for him as well. So you say to yourself, in addition to all my tasks, that's what I want to work on. I want that if I say him, stay next to mommy, that he will do it. Wow, it's impossible, right? In Israel, it's impossible. What means stay next to mommy? It's like the whole world around me. And I was there, just I'm laughing because I remember myself there. But you said that's a task, and I cannot do it alone. Because what I want to teach my child, that if he escapes, after I told him ahead of time, that when we go to the shop, you being adult and 2 years old and independent, you stay with me, you can, you're capable, I believe you can do it. But in case you don't, which is okay, it's like you're not a criminal here, but in case you will fail, I'll have somebody to pick you up immediately and take you home. And for that babysitting hour that you will spend with that figure that you know, in order not to scare him, you'll pay me with your favorite toy. Reason, effect, consequences. That's how it works in the world with us. We speed, we get the fine. The consequences come, sometimes immediately, sometimes we're not caught. So we want to teach our children that they need to behave and be responsible in the first place, before they would be caught. For that, you need a support group. You cannot do it alone. You can find other parents who are together with you in the same thinking. It shouldn't be a lot of people. It can be one friend, it can be 2 friends, because if she helps you having her own children, maybe next time you will help her in the task she would be training up her child. It can be grandparent. It can be somebody that you trust and somebody that your child knows. So he won't be, wow, some stranger came, picked me up and went somewhere. I don't know. That's a shock we don't want to do for the child. It should be somebody that, you know, babysitter, grandparent or a friend. You agree with her that you go together, because the shopping is a secondary task. You do want to do some shopping, but mainly you're focused on training up your child, behave well at the grocery, because it will happen to you every single week for many years ahead. It's important for you to do that. So you agree with her and you tell, as soon as he runs away, I give you a call and I say that he will hear that you come and pick him up. So definitely he does it. And you waited for this. So the training session can happen. He runs away. You gently catch him, hold him, say in the receiver, that's the time to pick him up. He doesn't believe it. It never happened to him. He feels that it will take place. He might be in age that he will understand. Maybe it's 1.5, 2. And your friend or his babysitter comes, pick him up, and he definitely throws tantrum and he's not agree, but it doesn't matter. You know you do it for his best. So it's not nice, it's not pleasant for any mother to see your child being so devastated and crying, but it's for his best. So she takes him, and then he pays the babysitting hours with his favorite toy. He cannot have it for a couple days or so. Then you return the toy to him, and next time you go to the shop, you do the same. You explain him. that this time we'll do the same. I believe you can do it. I believe that, you know, you're capable, you're responsible. Usually it works from the second time. It shouldn't be too much fun at the babysitter house, because if it's fun and much more preferable than with you at the shop, then you didn't really make the task effective. It should be somehow not as fun. It should be really like consequences he didn't expect, but he needs to deal with. That's about the shop. And like this, every task, like you want to cook quietly for half an hour while you're in the kitchen. You want your child to be able to play by himself in some safe environment, maybe at the frame of the carpet in your living room, or in the crib, or maybe in his room, depends how old is he. So you work on it. Definitely he will not be as responsible or as ready. It will take you time. You talk to him, you say that, Mommy's here, I need to do something. That's a time for you to be for 1 minute, half a minute at the carpet frame. That's your territory. It's possible. So when he does it and he succeeds, you say, good job, you can do it. So then you prolong it for 2 minutes, for 3 minutes, but the child is knowing what you are working on, and it's gradual. It's not something that suddenly at age 5, you decide that you need to do that, and he never experienced it in his life. Definitely it would be harder, but again, possible to do. So in order for you to be free for your homework tasks, your main training up session is to give him skills to be alone with the toy for a certain time according to his age and ability. He can do it. We have one couple at congregation that when I watch how they did it, it was their firstborn. I don't know from where they have that wisdom, but I was like watching them and I'm saying, that's exactly what's happening. That's what I want to convey. If I would be allowed just to make a movie from that interaction of them with their child, I will show now as a visual example of what I mean. Their child was back then maybe 1.5, a boy, firstborn. Again, it won't work for every child. You should be very, very flexible. But with that child, it worked miraculously, though he was upset for certain times. They came for Bible study. So we had a dinner, he sat in a high chair, everything was fine. And then the lesson has started. So it was a big carpet like between those sofas, that size, and the father very calmly, very gently, very authoritative said, I hope I won't say his name just for their sake, you stay here. Like you can play all over around between those sofas, but please don't cross the carpet. That was for his training. And so the child played quietly for 2-3 minutes. Definitely what children want to do is to break your rule. You put the boundary, what do I want to choose and do? It's something you said don't do. I'll see what your reaction. Did you really mean it? Can I do? What will I pay it for? What will happen? So the father was at that border of the carpet. So as soon as the child was trying to cross it, and it was a visual line, so it was easy for a child to understand, he will calmly, without like saying, don't do it, whatever, just will raise him up and bring him back. 2-3 times the child was fine with that. He would play again with the toys. Again, I think he wasn't walking back then, he was only scrolling. So he will scroll. The third time the father will stop him at that border, he started to cry, a little bit gently, not a big fist, he was small. So the father would say, you will be fine, just stay here, it's okay. But he would cry more and more, so the dad will take him, raise him gently, take him to the balcony like this, so everybody could see him, he could see us, but he will take a child away from the action. And he will stay there with him, not letting him coming back, but just staying there until he will not be crying and not being upset. It would take probably 40 seconds, a minute. When the child was again calm, he will pick him up and bring him back and say, please stay here at the carpet size. Again, few times, maybe 3-4 times, after he cried, and with each time he cried less. Because he understood that's a consequence. Nothing will work. My dad is not furious. He's not punishing me. He's just firm with the boundaries that he set me I need to keep. And it's not nice there, so maybe I shouldn't go there with him because it's boring. I can't hear, I can't see faces. So from that time on, he stayed at the carpet and he never tried to, as soon as he will try, he will put just the leg and that was enough. He will see the leg and he will stay at the carpet. It was like about 30 minutes like this. They didn't stay for the whole Bible study. And when they felt that the child is cranky because he's tired and he wants to sleep, not because he wants to control the situation, they excused themselves and they told, we better go because we see that physically, like they were not in training, they did it somehow naturally, because afterwards I talked to them and I told, it was amazing. And there was like, what did we do? We did like that, they lived it, they didn't really plan it. And I explained them what they did, and they told, that's right, that works. It just, we didn't plan it, but we were firm that while we're participating in the Bible studies, we want him to behave. And behave means we can see him. So he's not wandering at somebody's rooms, and he's not doing something that he might be not allowed. We want to be safe. We want him to be safe in somebody's home. So that's what we did naturally. And they left. And I thought, it's amazing, because what's the most hard things for the young parents, especially for the moms? They're learning that conversation with adults. They want some meaning. They want to have fun with their friends, with their family. So when the event comes, for them to come for the family table or for the friends, they want to enjoy their time. It's like so normal, so natural, such a basic need. And so the children always feel that, they always sense, because they know the parents want to relax and rest, that's when they will do whatever they want to. They will just throw the fists, they will, and the parents longing for that conversation will say to the friend, I'm so sorry, he's so bossy, or he's so messy, or whatever. And they will keep talking because that's a basic need. And I fully understand it. But you don't do well, you don't do good, not for yourself, not for your child. Because if you will invest saying, I do have that need, maybe you can allow me to go alone without children, without you, for that adults conversation during the week, so I can be filled a little bit, or maybe I can go and visit my family alone. I don't know, I'm throwing now ideas which the couple will know how to decide what will work best. So your basic needs also will be met, but your main purpose for your child and yourself for the long run is to train up child who behaves nicely wherever we go. And so I'm not disappointed, I'm not as angry, I'm not frustrated if he doesn't. Because he's small, he's not equipped, he doesn't have the skills. He checks your reactions, he sees if you're not paying attention. He's okay. Who's not okay, it's you as an adult. For you, it's a time to say, okay, I terribly miss my family, but at this stage of the childhood, it get easier. If I will do it now, in a month or so, I can come with him to my family and it will be a picnic. It will be amazing. It will be so easy. But for that time, we're in a training. And you talk to your parents beforehand, because they might say, oh, Esvioto, just leave him alone. He's just such a chubby, nice, just Just don't let him eat. He doesn't want to eat, let him go. He messed my sofa, that's okay. The grandparents, they want to have you as well, they want to enjoy you, but you as a parent say, no, we're in training, we might leave early, or we might not talk to you as adult to adult, but our main goal right now, that he will be able to do what his age allows. He can sit around the table. If he finished with the food and we decided to put him down, we agreed that he needs to stay here. And don't, please, you're not good companions if you say him, let him do it. Just leave him alone. Just rest. I will rest with him next time or next month because I'm in training. The child will be upset, you will feel embarrassed, you will feel like, you're a failure, but it's not a failure. You're doing the best job you can. Training and putting the goals of what you want to see in that specific event, in that specific age, and you stay there. You don't lose it. You don't intimidate him, not with the big hammer, not with two small ones. You don't raise up your voice. By the way, in Israel it's difficult not to raise up your voice, but I always say, please, raise up your voice in extreme situations. When the child really have to pay attention, when there is something extraordinary bad he did or he is in a danger. If you raise up your voice all the time, they are tolerant with your voice. They don't hear you. You need to intimidate them more and be furious. And when they see that facial expression, only then they say, I think she's serious right now. Okay, now I'll probably stop doing that. What for? Loving, simple actions of love while you can control yourself, while you're not angry with child because you know he's in training, you're doing training, and if you keep doing from early age, it would be easier and easier and easier. You can go with them, with him, anywhere you want. You can cook with him, you can clean with him, you can visit your friends and they won't be afraid to invite you. Because you know yourself, parents, when you invite the child who doesn't behave, wow, that's a nightmare. You look at your sofa before that and you say, yo, okay, but that person is so dear to me, I will be okay with the sofa. So please don't do this to your friends or to your family. Walk at each stage and look what that child, so his behavior won't be controlling you. You will know that it's a normal way of behaving at that stage. All he wants is control, and control, instead of you've been making, not this, you're not in control of him, you're in control of your own reactions. You're not in control of his reaction, deeds, actions, or words. The only person you can control is yourself. Your words, your deeds, your behaviors, and your reactions. So you watch that you don't get out of control, but you put the boundaries and you know it's for his good. And stick with this because that will bring security back to child. While he's trying your boundaries, he's not sure. If you give him more and more and more freedom, he just loses it. So we can talk later what balance is good, but that's about the early stages of his development. You can do the same with the school age children. For example, very good Israeli example. I don't know how about China, but in Israeli schools, each child brings tons of confirmation letters that the parent need to sign for the child to go for the field trip, for the child to be recorded, for the child to participate in this and that. right? It's called ishurim, it's called permission letter, or I think it's a permission letter. I don't know if it's in America something, but it's kind of letter that you permit your child to do that. So how can you teach that child who is not a toddler anymore, first of all, to ask the question whose responsibility it is to sign those letters? If it's my responsibility, then there is no training session. If it's his responsibility not to forget to give me and to put back into his this signed letter, then you are in the training. For example, happened to our children, don't remember who was it. I was tired of reminding and checking and maybe running to the school if I forgot to sign somebody's permission letter. So I decided for myself that I will do an experiment. I will let them be responsible for that. And if I don't sign something, then they're not participating in that. It was a field trip. It was like 3 or 4 hours trip that their class did. So definitely I knew it. The child calls from the secretary room and he said, "Mom, yeah, I forgot to give you the permission letter, so you didn't sign. We have to leave next lesson. Can you come up? Can you come and sign it?" And I just calmly told, "No, I'm not going to come. I'm sorry, but you'll miss it this time." What? They couldn't believe. It's like, I can't miss that field trip. The whole class goes, and they told, "I'm sorry. And next time, I can't come. I won't, you would be fine. You would be okay." I didn't do like that. I told you, you forgot. I just calmed him down that I'm sorry, but this time he won't be able to go to the field trip. And then he was like acting and like, "I can't believe, you can't do it to me. It's like the worst things in the world will happen. It's not happening to me." And then the secretary took the receiver and she told me, "No, you come. You cannot do this to your child. He cannot miss that trip. You come and you sign." And I told him, "Sorry, I won't be able. So this time, so do you want him to sit with me for another 3 hours?" And they told, "Yes. Is it okay that he will sit with you?" "Yes, but what a mother you are," And then the director, the manager called and they told him, "Sorry, I'm not going to sign it. Next time, he will have a chance." He never forgets since then to give that confirmation letter, because he learned it's not fun to sit with the secretary. I didn't try to set up a fun frame for him to, I wanted him to be bored and to be responsible. That's how the outside world works. And he needs to be able to deal with him being upset, not to blame anybody else. It was his responsibility because it wasn't coming out of the blue. We talked about this. We talked through what will happen if by chance, not because he is failure, by chance he might forget to do that, what will happen. And that happens. It's like, if you tell this, don't threat. Really do that. Any other, I remember another child being always in time for soccer training sessions. Never be late. Why? Because his coach will not let him play the whole time if he is 1 minute late. Never be late. But if you ask him to do something before he have to leave with you, because you are a taxi driver, then definitely that he forgets. So he comes at the minute 19, he says "We need to go to the session." But you talked with him ahead of time and you told that if he won't do it without intimidating, you just told, "That's your responsibility, please finish." If that will not happen, you will not be you will not be making it in time. Okay, he didn't believe it, so the chance had come and I was absolutely ready. I knew it will be I felt as the worst mother in the whole world, but I knew I'm doing the right thing. I didn't take him until he will finish his responsibility. Was he late for the session? He was late. Did he play? No, he wasn't playing. His coach didn't let him. Ever since, did he do it? Never. It was like to throw the guy. What else? Okay, yeah, that time was always in time, living in the right. So that's about teenagers. You can be creative as you can, but know that if you put boundaries and you talk and discuss it with your child, they don't come as a surprise out of blue, then please be keeping those boundaries, controlling your own reaction, because reaction of your child will not be as nice. But believe that that's for his good, and you will see the results. He will be secure, mature, equipped, skilled, knowing to pay and see consequences as something, not a hammer, not to say that, you know, because as I told you before, if we only intimidate them, if we rescue them, if we do, then that's what he will leave the house with. The same idea. Somebody will come to rescue me. I can be not responsible. And if I do, who is to blame? Okay, she, he, maybe me, because there are some children who always blame themselves. But that's not what you want. You want the child to know it's not him. It's a failure that will happen. And when it happens, that's okay. There are things to do about that. And you're loving, not lecturing, not intimidating, not out of control person who loves them. Because that's how it comes. We rescue and we say, I love you. That's why I'll do it for you. It doesn't work. God is not that way. When is the last time God grabbed you and told, well, go and do that job unless I will just break up the ruler above your head or something? God walks as a loving father, loving figure that does bring consequences for the wrong choices. You might do wrong choices, but you would never doubt the love of your Godfather, and that's what you want to channel to your children. It's okay to fail. It happens to me. You also should be transparent that you also do failures, and that's the consequences you pay when you do it. And you still love yourself. You love God. You don't blame anyone. You just believe next time you will do better, and that's what you want. The secure child that knows that somebody, parent, God, believing in him, encouraging him, know that he will do better next time, and not intimidating or getting out of control or just do some terrible abusive things, is it verbally or physically or emotionally.
That's very wise, and it is possible to do it with our Lord. Okay, so we out of time.
To be creative, the examples that I brought might not work for you or for your child. There is no method. You look for the same concept that you want to be reflecting God, Father role in relationship with your child. And the way you do it, that's your choice. The only idea or not a warning, but word we want to say that don't risk them out, be there for them, make sure that they know that you will help if they want you to help, but let them struggle with their daily things and give them equipment and skills to set up again the peace in themselves towards you and reflect the message of God's Father role in his life.
Thank you very much for being with us. We really pray and hope that that was somewhat useful, that you will take these tips and truth and put it into your practice.
God bless you in your parenting. Be an artist and God will inspire you. Thank you.
Shalom.
Bye.
Blessings from Israel.